Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to LIBOR's Wednesday webinar. My name is Mary Ann Monteleone, Vice President of Professional Development for LIBOR. This month is Realtor Safety Month, and we're recognizing it in every way. We have a very special guest here with us today, Robert Siciliano. He has been with us before. He is well known in the realtor community. I don't want to miss anything, so I want to introduce Robert formally, if I can just take a moment, because his intro and his background and his credentials are essential to this topic. So Robert is a security expert and private investigator with 30 plus years experience. #1 best-selling Amazon.com author of 5 books on the subject and the architect of the CSI Protection Certification, which is a cyber, social, identity, and personal protection security awareness training program. He is a frequent speaker and media communicator and CEO of Safe Me and head trainer at Protect Now LLC. ProtectNowLLC.com. Robert has been featured on CNN, Fox News, CNBC, MSNBC, ABC World News Tonight, NBC Nightline, CBS Early Show, The Today Show, Good Morning America, and the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Time Magazine, Fortune, Forbes, Entrepreneur, and many more. His personal mission is to inform, educate, and empower people so they can protect themselves and their loved ones from violence and crime in their everyday lives, both in their physical and virtual interactions. So without further delay, we welcome and turn it over to our friend Robert. Welcome, Robert.
Thank you so much, Mary Ann. And I've also been on the Howard Stern show. Love
okay, just keeping it real.
A couple times, actually.
Yeah.
All right, so thank you so much. Appreciate that introduction. And I do need to cut down on that because it's too long. That's my fault. Listen, it's Realtor Safety Month. Now, I was one of the pioneers in Realtor Safety Month. I was on the original Realtor Safety Initiative team, started in the year 2000. I believe my co-creator in regards to personal security and self-defense was a real estate agent from Long Island. I think he was a former law enforcement officer. Forget his name, might have been Jim. Anyways, yeah, we launched this thing, 21-ish years ago. And we've been going strong. It's still a problem, obviously. Statistics show that somewhere around 60,000 or so agents annually are involved in some type of an altercation, from simple assault to theft to much worse. So statistically, something bad happening to you is, something you should pay attention to. The likelihood of something bad happening is relatively slim, but you got to pay attention. Now today, we're talking cybersecurity, which fundamentally is risk management. So is, protecting yourself from a bad guy as you're showing a property. And risk management is something that we don't pay enough attention to. Risk management really is recognizing risk in such a way where you understand what your options are, you know what to do and what not to do, where to go, who to call, whether you click that link or not, whether you fight off your attacker, scream help, pull out a non-lethal protection device, whatever the case have you. It boils down to risk reduction and knowing what your options are and not worrying about these things, but doing something about it. Today, cybersecurity is full on a form of realtor safety. It's protecting yourself and your clients from harm, reducing risk. So let's get right into it. There's a lot to talk about. And, at any given point in time, you got questions, comments, feedback, by all means, plug them into chat between me and Ethan. We will react and respond as quickly as possible. So defending against the data breach, right here, 27 billion records exposed in the first half of 2020. By the end of 2020, it was like 30 billion stolen records or exposed records. In 2021, it was about 40 billion compromised records. So just in 2 years, between 2020 and 2021, we're talking 70 billion compromised records. In the past decade, there's probably been another 40, 50 billion records. We're talking like somewhere around 120 billion compromised records. What is that? That's usernames and passcodes. Usernames, which are often email addresses and their associated passcodes. Credit card numbers, debit card numbers, various account numbers, social security numbers, name, address, phone number, email address, and so on. All that information out there in the hands of criminals makes all of us vulnerable. I tell people at this point, expect that your identity essentially has been stolen. So what does that really mean? It means that while you may or may not have been affected by some type of financial fraud, your information is in fact in the hands of bad guys, people that eventually will get to that data and do something with it. So a lot of the idea behind this presentation is to make that data relatively useless to the thief. So even if they have it, they really can't do a whole lot with it, or at least you're inoculated in some way. Like, you know, if you're exposed to the virus and you've got your vaccination, it's not going to be so bad. It's kind of like what this program's all about. You know, the data is in the hands of the bad guy, but now that you know what to do, it's not going to be so bad. Something to think about. All right. So financial phishing attacks take off, malware declines, malware, malicious software. So if the bad guy, you know, installs a virus on your machine, obviously that can be problematic in such a way where the bad guy can spy on you. They can monitor what you do. They can monitor your behavior. They can monitor your keystrokes. They can monitor your mouse movement. They can see the websites you visit, the past usernames and passcodes you type in. Malware always has been and always will be a problem on Windows machines and on Macs. And while that's an issue and always will be, and you have to have antivirus to protect yourself in that regard, phishing, financial phishing, is a huge problem, especially in this industry. Because when bad guys get your username and your passcode to get access to your email or your client's email, they can really make a mess of your life and their life. They could steal tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars with basic, simple wiring instructions. And this industry specifically, real estate, is a huge target of that. We're going to get into wire fraud, mortgage closing fraud in just a few minutes, but I want you to kind of get an idea of like how a lot of this stuff happens leading up to that, a little bit of the background info as to what I want to set the stage for how these scams happen, and ultimately like all the different things you're supposed to do to recognize it's happening to you and or your client, and ultimately to mitigate it and to prevent it. Okay. So let's speak to social engineering. Right. So social engineering, and I know like at this point, like the information on the slide might be a little small for you, but that's okay. I'm going to read through it. I'm going to explain it all to you. So social engineering is a collection of techniques used to manipulate people, basically into performing actions or divulging confidential information. It is basically a confidence trick. The term typically applies to trickery for information gathering or computer system access. In most cases, the attacker never comes face to face with the victim. So a confidence trick, what is that all about? Well, you know what a con man is, or a con woman. The derivative of a confidence crime, of course, is con. And the con man, con woman's entire motivation is to gain your confidence. Once they gain your confidence, they convince you that they are trustworthy. Once they convince you that they are trustworthy, then you are likely to separate yourself from your money or your personal or sensitive information. It's as simple as that. It's like you get a phone call that sounds like, it looks like, you think it's coming from the Social Security Administration, and it's a government agency, and you trust that it's them, and you are convinced and confident that it's them, and you provide them your credit card number or social security number because you feel in your heart that it's legit. Well, it's not, and most of us know that, but there are people in your life that may not, clients that may not, family members that may not, and so on. So our job is to kind of expose all of this, bring attention to it, make sure that the most vulnerable people in our population aren't hoodwinked, aren't victimized. There is no patch for human gullibility, they say, meaning like you can't fix gullible. You can't just, install a software program to fix that. P.T. Barnum once said, there's a sucker born every minute. I'm going to take it a step further, and you may or may not agree. I believe that every single one of us are born suckers, that we come out of our mama a sucker, and we go through our lives at some point being suckered in such a way where we put our faith, we put our trust into another human being who lied to us and stole from us or betrayed us in some way. And that means that they might have cheated on you and emotionally betrayed you, stole from you, invited you into an opportunity that ultimately where you lost money. And that does not mean that you are a sucker. It means that you are human. It means that you put your trust in somebody else and they betrayed you in some way, shape, or form. And here's the deal. We as human beings are an interdependent species. And as an interdependent species, we depend on others. And we require trust. Trust is fundamental to being a human. You come out of your mama trusting by default, and you go throughout life trusting that others have good intentions. And the good news is that like 97% of the world's population are in fact trustworthy. And when I say 97%, it's because in the course of the 30 plus years that I've been doing this, I've determined that essentially 2, 3, or 4% of all human beings are simply not trustworthy. They come out of their mama untrustworthy. They come out of their mama bad. These are people that, because of their nature, and also because of nurture in some cases, that they are antisocial personalities in some way that they could not be trusted. They are heavy-duty narcissists. And if you know those kinds of people, like they're really difficult to deal with. They are sociopathic, psychopathic in some way, where they don't feel guilt. They don't feel or possess remorse. They don't feel ever that they've done wrong in any way. That sympathy, empathy, guilt, remorse are just not part of their being. And therefore, they look at us as their natural prey, that hitting, hurting, harming others to them is a form of survival. It's the way they get, through the day. And they are untrustworthy because they look upon us as being their natural prey. No different than a lion in the Serengeti stalking a gazelle, looking to feed its family. They look at you and I as the gazelle. Always has, is, and always will be like that. And going forward, you just need to understand that in such a way where you recognize risk that not everybody is to be trusted. And that does not mean you walk around paranoid, full of fear or worry. And it also doesn't mean that you say, if they're going to break into my house, they're going to break into my house. I have insurance. I'm not going to lock my doors or install a home security system because it's not going to happen to me anyways. Functioning in denial is no way to live your life. And that's no way to deal with or address the issue of security. In order to properly react and respond and proactively deal with security issues, vulnerabilities, predators, and thieves, you need to put systems in place. You need to recognize risk in such a way where you know what to do and what not to do. You know ultimately what your options are, okay? Because 97% of people are good, but 3% are not, okay? And bad guys will, through convincing you, say you're going to lose something. You're going to lose access. You're going to lose money. You're going to lose the respect of your boss. You're going to lose your job. Or you're going to gain something. You're going to gain money. You're going to gain, I don't know, sex. right? They utilize desire. You're going to get some form of, money or whatever it might be, a relationship, who knows, right? There's all kinds of motivations. They utilize fear and greed and whatever to get access to you. They function under the principles of influence and the psychology of persuasion. What does that really mean? It means that they've done their research and they've researched the researchers, social psychologists who have essentially determined through, studying human beings in various focus groups, what makes us choose, what makes us decide. And over time, they've deduced all of that and put it into sales and marketing presentations, negotiation, essentially ways of manipulating people. Generally, the way they present it is how to ethically manipulate people. But of course, that same information can be used to unethically manipulate people. And bad guys use all of that in phishing emails, text message emails, phone calls they make, and so on, Again, they do it via email, telephone, and person. They pose as you to others, to your clients. They pose as a spouse, as a bill collector, a bank, a utility, a fellow employee, a coworker, your boss, the title company, a lawyer, an accountant, a government agency, IRS, Medicaid, law enforcement, FBI, CIA, and so forth, to convince you they are legit. Every single time the phone rings, you need to be aware. Phone is at this point considered like analog, whereas email is considered like digital, right? Arizona Wendy's Jack in the Box hit by prank calls instructing workers to break restaurant windows. If you work at a restaurant or any business with windows for that matter that has, gas in it, take note. Don't listen to anyone who calls and tells you to break every window and door you can lay your hands on. Burger King, Wendy's, Jack in the Box, all played Simon Says demolition. So the phone rings. Yeah, can I speak to the manager, please? This is Jack Smith from the gas company. Listen, manager, we have reason to believe that you got a broken gas line inside your building right now, profusely releasing gas into the atmosphere to the point where your building is going to blow up. Listen, you're going to get out of there right now. Otherwise, the building could explode, killing thousands of people, potentially leveling the entire block. You got to get outside and break all those windows, pick up rocks, bricks, chairs, anything. Break those windows before people die. What are you doing? Get out of there now. And the manager's like, whoa, okay. Is that manager a sucker? No. That manager's a good person. That manager doesn't want anybody to be hurt. That manager especially doesn't want anybody to be hurt under his or her watch. And so they will do anything and everything to make sure that everybody's safe. They evacuate the place. They stop breaking windows, releasing gas into the atmosphere. Why? Because they're human, because they care about others. And the bad guy in this case, the prankster, the SOB, doesn't care about anybody but himself. It's funny. It's not funny. It's dangerous. And it's just an example of, we're just simple people that want to do the right thing, follow the rules. And on top of it, it shows just how vulnerable the telephone can be. Neither you or your clients can trust what shows up on caller ID. Free spoof call. Easily change your caller ID. What does that actually mean? It means that there are mobile applications out there, websites that anybody can subscribe to, subscription services that you can log into, pay for, where you can completely change what shows up on that person's caller ID. So if you want the name of the local police department to show up on caller ID and the phone number for the local police department, you can do that. Or the name and phone number of Visa, MasterCard, or American Express, and so on. This is legal because it does have legitimate uses too. Like if you're a doctor's office, you're a doctor and you're on call, and a client, calls your answering service and they need your advice on something, and you call your client back, the doctor does not want to call you from their mobile phone in such a way where their mobile phone shows up on your caller ID. Because going forward, now you have your doctor's direct contact information. And your doctor does not want you to have his phone number, because your doctor has hundreds of clients, and out of those hundreds of clients, some of them are very, very needy. And if that needy person has that doctor's phone number, that doctor is at a disadvantage. So it's better for the doctor to change the caller ID to the name of the doctor's office with the actual office number. That way, when the client calls back, they're calling the office, which is calling the answering service. So that's a legitimate use, is my point. So you can't trust caller ID. Abandoned flash drives are called bad USBs. What the heck does that mean? Well, first of all, if you found a toothbrush on the ground, would you pick it up and use it? No, it's disgusting. A thumb drive dropped on the ground could have a virus on it as well. They call this a bad USB. And what this is bad guys will create a virus specifically so that when they drop the thumb drive on the ground, you pick it up, plug it into your machine, and then what happens? It infects your computer with the virus in such a way that they can spy on you remotely. Now, this thumb drive that you picked up, you might pick it up, put it in your pocket, your briefcase, your bag, forget about it. A month later, you got to transfer files from one machine to another. Now, when you plug it in, you get a virus. You hand it off to your colleague, they get a virus. Beware of bad USBs. Keyloggers, these are hardware devices, okay? So look at this device right here. You look at the top, I say left, you see the male end, the USB end. You look in the bottom right, that's the female end, okay? Basically, it says, it's, for sale on Amazon, saves over 4,000 pages of text, 100% undetectable, works instantly, no installation needed other than just plugging it in. Works with Windows in this case for wired keyboards. So essentially, when you plug the keylogger into the back of a desktop, you piggyback the end of the keyboard plug into the keylogger device. Everything that is typed into that keyboard goes through the keylogger and stores it as a text file over 4,000 pages of text. Every single email written, website URL typed in, passcode typed in, and so on, ends up in a keylogger device. We see these lots in libraries, business center PCs, schools where kids plug them into the teachers' PCs to get testing information and to change their grades. And in office environments, similar to like what yours might be, where you might have a cleaning crew coming in after hours, cleaning the office, cleaning the bathroom, cleaning the offices, doing some dusting and vacuuming. Plugging a keylogger in is no big deal. It's easy to do. That cleaning person might be getting, maybe $50 or $100 to plug it in, and then like another $50 or $100 to deliver it a week or two later. So beware of keyloggers in the back of your machines. Phishing, phishing, you've heard of phishing, right? Prevent phishing scams to empty bank accounts. There's wire fraud, which we're going to talk about in a minute. BEC, which is also known as business email compromise scam, spear phishing, social media phishing, right? What is it? How does it work? What's it all about? So here, check it out. I'm going to read this off to you, so don't worry about straining your eyes. Cyber criminals hack realty deals, sneak out with $100,000 or more. Your closing funds, as they say, may be heading to a cyber criminal. So this was an article featured in the Washington Post where they, interviewed me. While no one knows the exact number of victims or the extent of the problem, the National Association of Realtors told the Washington Post that this scam has hit hundreds, if not thousands of home closings. It's become serious enough, in fact, that in March, the Federal Trade Commission issued a warning to home buyers that basically the real estate industry is insecure. I said it was just a matter of time until scammers recognized the opportunity to target real estate agents and their clients. As for what's fueling this trend, some experts we spoke to point to the relatively lax security in the world of real estate compared with other security industries. I went on to say that currently most industries that have experienced large data breaches have put in systems in place to become hardened. That means the real estate industry and others become the path of least resistance. Unlike the entire financial industry, who have encrypted communications, the real estate industry is a hodgepodge of free email accounts and unprotected communications. So how does that work? Well, hackers are stealing closing funds by intercepting lawyer-client email, experts say. Same thing with client and the buyer and the real estate agent, the escrow company and the buyer, the real estate agent and the buyer, the title company and the buyer, and so forth. Young family loses life savings of $775,000 in an escrow wire fraud scam. The victims had received an email asking them to wire their funds into escrow. They had received another email from their escrow company a few days earlier, and all the personal and bank account information lined up. Everything in the second email matched the closing statement. So let's dissect this a little bit. Bad guys, more than likely, in this particular scenario, were logged in either to the title company employee's email or the buyer's email. I'm thinking the buyer. When I say logged in, meaning like logged in from their own computer. The same way that y'all logged into your email from your computer, and you can log into your email from another computer or your mobile phone. If it's a web-based email client, you could log in from multiple places. And the only way you'd know that is to check certain things in email that shows if it's open at another IP address and so on. Regardless, in this particular scenario, what's likely is that the buyer's email was compromised either because the buyer responded to a phishing email giving up their credentials, or the buyer's credentials, their email address and their passcode, were exposed in another data breach. So for example, if they're using the same passcode for their email as they are for LinkedIn, well, LinkedIn's been hacked in such a way where 160 something million LinkedIn credentials were exposed. I'm going to show you what that looks like in a minute. So there's ways to fix this. And real estate agents really are in the best position to stop it. So whether or not in the state of New York, real estate agents ever send wiring instructions to buyers or not, doesn't matter. Because if the buyer gets wiring instructions from you, whether that's a normal part of the procedure or not, the buyer doesn't know any better, meaning that this might be the first time the buyer's ever bought a house, or the first time they've bought a house in 5, 10, 15 years. Process has changed. So if the buyer's getting instructions from you via email saying, hey, in anticipation of the closing in 2 weeks, here are wiring instructions for the deposit or the down payment and so on. If it's coming from you, the buyer just goes, okay, and they do it because you're the real estate professional. What you say goes. You're the boss. They probably won't even question it. Let's dissect this even further. But first, Shark Tank star Barbara Corcoran loses $400,000 in an email scam. The mogul's bookkeeper received an email. The bookkeeper received an email about an invoice to approve a payment on a real estate renovation, which isn't all that uncommon given how many real estate deals she does on a daily basis. So basically, Barbara's admin, let's say her admin's email gets compromised. From the admin's email account, bad guys send off an email to the bookkeeper saying, hey, Barbara's got this renovation going on in Brooklyn. Contractors complaining they haven't been paid in 90 days, threatening to walk off the job. Listen, these people need to be paid today. I've attached wiring instructions. You know how Barbara can be. If they don't get paid today and they walk off the job, she's going to be pissed. Pay the bill today, please. Coming from Barbara's admin to the bookkeeper's inbox, who's the bookkeeper to argue that point? And the bookkeeper goes ahead and pays the bill. At no given point in time did the bookkeeper ever pick up the phone and call the admin going, hey, this is a bookkeeper calling, from across the street. Is that legit? Why would the bookkeeper even do that if this is like the 100th time the bookkeeper has paid a bill based on an email? The problem here is that this is such a lucrative scam, and logging in or hacking somebody's email is so easy that now you need to stop picking up the phone. And the buyer in your situation needs to know it's time to pick up the phone if they get wiring instructions. I'm going to do a little more digging here, but let me explain how it works and let me explain what has to happen. You're going to see how this all plays out in a minute. So under your watch, you want to prevent wire scams, mortgage closing scams, okay? If it happens to your client, whether it's because the title company screwed up, or their lawyer screwed up, or their accountant screwed up, or you screwed up, or they screwed up, it doesn't matter. Because if your buyer gets fleeced, you are the second person in line that stands to lose the most. Of course, the buyer loses the most, but then you lose a healthy commission. So you're best positioned or perfectly positioned to prevent this crime, because really, other than the buyer, you have the most to lose. You want to prevent this crime. So prevent money wire scams. And by the way, what we're talking about right now, data security, is part of my company's CSI protection certification designation program that we present in basically a 3 to 6 hour program. And we're presenting a portion of this at Triple Play. So if you're going to be at Triple Play, come see me. We're going to talk about this. So prevent money wire scams. Email or phone communications can be easily manipulated or spoofed to seem legitimate. It is extremely important that email is looked at with a cynical eye. Beware. Never wire money or pay a bill based on email or a phone call without first making contact with the payee you have on file to confirm the legitimacy of the transaction. This is a conversation that you should be having with your clients right now, before it's too late. Be proactive in this regard. This might be considered an uncomfortable conversation that you need to have. And if you're watching your clients back in this way, they're going to appreciate it. Email, tell them. In the process of buying or selling a home, there'll be many emails to and from your real estate agent or other service professionals, including your attorney, mortgage broker, title company, or home inspector. Discuss between client and real estate agent and service professional the nature of email communications and what links might need to be clicked on or documents that might need to be filled out. Further, tell them, call me, call your agent. Under no circumstances and at no time in the process should the client or service professional engage in a money wire transfer unless the client specifically speaks to the real estate agent in person or over the phone to confirm the legitimacy of the money wire transaction. That means that your client should call you directly to confirm the legitimacy of the request. That means that at some given point in time, you need to instruct your client to add your phone to their mobile, along with your contact information, email address, your name, everything. And they are to call you directly if and when they ever receive any type of wiring instructions, because you're the one that can confirm the legitimacy of that request, whether real or fake. And look, I don't know if in the state of New York, that's a normal thing that you do. I don't know if you or the title company or who, if ever, engages in a process of initiating a wire transfer. I don't know what the story is in your state, but it doesn't matter. What matters is if it is legit, if it is a legit process that you engage in, or if it's not a legit process that you engage in, your buyer needs to know that no matter what the process is, they need to contact you first to confirm the legitimacy of that transaction, where that money should or shouldn't be going for that matter, whether that transaction is legit or not to begin with. Email disclosure. Clients should always look for language in the real estate agent's email communication stating below, which is wire fraud is real. Before wiring any money, call the intended recipient at a number you know is valid to confirm the instructions. Okay. Here's the problem with that, boilerplate disclosure. A, it's not going to indemnify you because you can still get sued. It does not reduce, eliminate any liability. That's number one. Number two, people don't read. So you really need to get in their face a little bit and let them know this is legit. This is a problem. You need to be aware of it. Don't just wire money based on instructions, no matter what the email says, even if it looks like it's coming from me as the real estate agent. Call me at this phone number. All right. We're going to further dissect how this happens and what you got to do to protect yourself. So here, now look at this, right? An astonishing 773 million records exposed in a monster data breach, including 21 million unique passcodes. So what does this mean? It means that huge data breaches are exposing millions and millions of records, usernames, passcodes, email addresses, names, addresses, phone numbers. Like I said earlier, probably 121 or 120 billion records exposed in the past decade, 70 billion in the past 2 years, including 21 million unique passcodes in just this particular breach that I'm bringing attention to. Want to see something crazy? Watch this. Just give me a second. Hold on. Watch this. Come on. There it is. You see that right there? You see what's going on in front of you? I know that that's difficult for you to see, but what that is right there, right? That is actually the 21 million unique records. I have those records. I'm looking at those records on my computer. What you're seeing is all 21 million stolen records are on my machine. They're right there. So if I click on this, right, which I'm not going to do, that says 5 million gaming by Stinky Bathwater. The author is a guy named Stinky Bathwater. So these are stolen files that were uploaded to the dark web. And I downloaded them because I know where to get that stuff. If I click on any one of these files, if I click on 5 million gaming, Stinky Bathwater, it's going to open up to 5 million usernames and passcodes, email addresses and their associated passcodes for gaming sites that have been compromised. Up here, 1.5 million combo email and passcode. There's another 1.25 million combo, 1 million combo, 1 million combo, 1 million combo, 2.8 million combo email and passcodes. What does that mean? It means that if we open up any one of these files, I'm going to see the login credentials for millions of people. And I could log into their email right now. And some of those people might be you. It could be your email address. It probably is, you know. That means that bad guys have access to your email. They may not have got to you yet. They might already be inside your email and you may not know it. So what do you do? How do you deal with that? So once the bad guy is inside your email, once the bad guy is inside your client's email, once the bad guy is inside the title companies or the escrow's email, based on simply just going to the dark web, grabbing the credentials and just logging in, it's kind of game over. Because they're watching all of your transactions. They're monitoring your communications. They're simply paying attention to every single email that comes in, and they're reading them. They're reading your outgoing emails, and they're doing searches within your email, looking for client communications, looking for the history behind, you know, whatever new email just came in. They're reading the threads, and they're looking to see, like, if you're a Bank of America client, an American Express client, and they're going to see if they can, like, you know, log into your Bank of America, log into your American Express, and they can reset the passcode for that particular account, because now that they're inside your email, the password reset begins and ends inside your actual email. You see how uglier this is getting? And often this is because many of us are using the same passcode across multiple accounts. Let me show you a couple more things, all right? I think you're beginning to understand, like, the amount of risk that you're facing here, and ultimately, like, what you ultimately need to be doing. All right. So my website at Protect Now LLC, we have an actual tool that you can use to determine if your email address has been part of any specific data breach. So just give me a second here. All right. So right here, I go to protectnowllc.com right there. We're going to scroll down. And down here, it says cybersecurity awareness check. Check if your email has been breached. Email checker. We click on that. Check if your email has been breached. I type in robertciciliano@gmail.com, which I've done before. Obviously, that's me. I click search. And what does it say? Your email and possibly your password have been stolen in the following breaches. So right here, February 2018, a massive collection of almost 3,000 alleged data breaches was found online, including 80 million unique email addresses and 20-something million passcodes. Those are the passcodes that I have in that file on my machine right there, okay? In July 2018, the sales engagement Apollo had 126 million unique email addresses and passcodes. A Bitcoin forum back in 2014 had 5 million Gmail passwords. Bitly in 2014, email addresses and passcodes. Cafe Mom, Cove, Dailymotion, Discus, Dropbox, Epic, Forbes, Photolog, GateHub, Gravatar, Last.fm, LinkedIn, all sites that were breached with my credentials. That means that my robertciciliano@gmail.com on all these various websites, including my passcode at all these various websites, is now in the hands of criminals, which gives bad guys access to all of those sites where they can log into my accounts. Now, in my life, I have a different passcode across all my accounts. So all I've got to do is go into each of these accounts that were affected and change up those passcodes to a different passcode, to a new passcode, to something uppercase, lowercase, numbers, and characters, something strong. Now, in my life, I never use the same passcode twice. So if my LinkedIn username and my LinkedIn passcode is compromised, I don't have to worry about my Gmail being compromised. But if you are using the same passcode, say for LinkedIn, as you are for Gmail, that's where you get bit. Because now the bad guys not only have your LinkedIn credentials, they have your Gmail credentials and your AOL or your Hotmail and so on. So using the same passcode twice is never a good idea. So how do you fix that? Well, really the best way for you to have a different passcode across each account to generate a strong passcode is to use a password manager. So if I do a quick search on the Google, right? Hold on. I do PASSWORD. So password manager, right? Right there in search pops up an ad for Nord password, an ad for LastPass, and there's an organic search for the best password managers of 2022. That's an article from PC Magazine. I usually point people to this. Right here, they've done the research and the work for you. Top 10 picks. Keeper, check the price. Zoho, check the price. Bitwarden, LastPass, 1Password, Log Me Once, RoboForm, Password Boss, Dashlane, and so forth. PC Magazine has figured out like what are the best ones, which ones work on Windows, which ones work on Mac, which ones have two-factor authentication, how much do they cost, how user-friendly are they, and so forth. So in order for you to facilitate the process of having a different passcode across each account, the best way to go about that is to have a password manager software. Now, I know one of the questions you might be asking is, well, what if the password manager gets hacked? I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried about the password manager software, the company getting hacked. While password manager software companies have in fact been hacked, none of them have been hacked in such a way where all of our information has been exposed. If anything, our data is all encrypted on their servers. These companies have bank-level military-grade encryption, so getting access to our sensitive information is highly unlikely. The low-hanging fruit in regards to the password manager and the passwords and the vulnerabilities, the low-hanging fruit is you using the same passcode multiple times on multiple sites and that data being discovered on the dark web. which I have access to. So knowing that that's the deal, right? Going to, my website and checking your email address to see what's been compromised, seeing all those websites that have been hacked with your username and your passcodes should tell you point blank, whoa, I got a situation here, which means you've got to use a passcode and to change up your passcodes on all your various sites, never using the same passcode twice. Your password manager can facilitate that process for you. So it creates a strong password for you as well. Like in that password manager, it has a password generator. And usually it'll create a passcode like uppercase, XYP, lowercase, ZLM, 12, exclamation point. Done. The password manager remembers that into that website. Next time you want to go back to that website, you just go to the password manager and you type in bank and Bank of America pops up, or you just go to B and you see Bank of America. You click on it, it brings you directly to Bank of America. It automatically plugs in your username and your passcode. And you don't even know what the passcode is because the password manager knows it for you. And you could right click and you could see the passcode if you wanted to, but you don't really even need to. The password manager remembers passcodes the same way that your mobile phone remembers mobile phone numbers. Simple, easy, Going forward, these tools are the best way to make the data useless to the thief. Now, on top of using a password manager, the other way that you make the data useless to the thief is by engaging in two-factor authentication. So you should have two-factor authentication for all your critical accounts. This is no joke. So if the bad guy has your username and they have your passcode, they can just log in. Now, if you have two-factor authentication enabled, that means that when the bad guy logs into your account or they try to log in with your username and your passcode, the bad guy, if you have two-factor authentication enabled, is going to be required to respond to that login with the one-time passcode that you are going to get via your mobile phone via text. Now, the bad guy can't actually log in to your email if they don't have your mobile phone in their possession. You have your mobile phone. So the second factor is the mobile phone and that one-time passcode. The first factor is, your initial passcode. So username, email address, passcode, first factor. Second factor is your mobile phone, text message, one-time passcode. Bad guys need your mobile to access your email. So even if they have your passcode, they can't get in. So you should have two-factor authentication set up for every single one of your critical accounts. Every one. How do you do that? Google it, like you see in front of you. I search Gmail two-factor. What pops up at the first page of search? Allow two-step verification. Open up your Google account, go to the navigation panel, select security, under sign into Google and so forth, all at support.google.com. There's another link to it. How do you do it for AOL? How do you do it for AOL? You Google it. It's right there, right? Help.aol.com. Add two-step verification for extra security. Go to WYAH, Yahoo, two-factor authentication. Help.yahoo.com. Add two-step verification for extra security, and so on. If you've got an @Century21, an @Remax, and so forth, contact your IT people. If you don't already have two-factor authentication, they will instruct you on exactly how to go about that process. Ladies and gents, this is not complicated. It just requires a little more legwork on your part, a little extra work. And once you engage in two-factor authentication, once you engage in a password manager, in most situations, this is going to prevent wire fraud. As long as you are, at a minimum, it's going to prevent wire fraud from happening under your watch inside of your email. But you've got to provide these exact same instructions to your buyer, because your buyer may also be using the same passcode across multiple accounts. They may also have their credentials compromised on the dark web. They may also already be infected and so forth, right? As I was showing you in regards to Protect Now, this same tool, right? The password checker, right? Right here, check if your password has been breached. So first we just check the email checker. Now we do the password checker, right? See if your password has been breached. A lot of people are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a passcode. How many people do you think are using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 as a passcode? How about, oh, I don't know, 37,508,000 times. That's a problem. Let's add a 7 to that, 1 through 7. 4,052,000 times. Let's add number 8 to that. Oh, 5,136,000 times, right? Let's type in PASSWORD, password. 9,636,000 people using password as a password. How about add a number 1 to that? How about, I don't know, 3,262,000 people. Let's try consecutive keystrokes, QWERTY 1, 2, 3. How many people are using QWERTY 1, 2, 3? Oh, 4,762,000 times. Bad guys know this. I mean, they're not stupid. They're computer scientists. They understand how technology works better than most of us do. And so we just make it easy for them to compromise us. Don't be that, right? Do these basic things and you should be fine. All right. So let me show you a couple more things. All right. So hold on. All right, good. So hold on. All right. Let me show you this. Stay out of your spam folder, because in your spam folder, there's lots of tasty phishing lures. I tell most people that you need to stay out of there in perpetuity. I know that's difficult for some of you because occasionally you might find something in there that is actually good. That said, in my spam box in any given day, right at the top, you see Costco member. Redeem your $50 Costco bonus today. Bank of America message, Walgreens gift card, acceptance offer, your application is approved, Amex message, Target rewards, Kohl's management, do not reply from PayPal, CVS reward giveaway, Amazon support, and so forth. Lots of tasty scams going on in there, phishing lures. Stay out of your spam folder and you won't get hooked. We talked password managers. We talked two-step authentication. And here we now know that passwords are compromised because of social engineering in the form of phishing, password reuse. You know you can't do that any longer. Insecure weak passwords like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Password managers are essential. Two-step verification is absolute. You have to do it. Not doing it, in my opinion, going forward is just irresponsible. And then there's no passwords. I know there's people here that, you know, don't have passwords on some of your digital devices. Look at, if your mobile phone, you're out and about, your mobile phone is lost or stolen, and it's not password protected, what would the bad guy have access to? Yeah, everything. Okay. If it's password protected, it's just worth the hardware, not the data that's inside of it. All right. And now I know that there are people that have like devices at home, like tablets, mobile devices, in some cases, you know, laptops, desktops, that maybe not be password protected. And you say, well, it's at home. Why do I have to password protect it? Well, what happens if somebody breaks into your house? What happens if you have a babysitter or a dog walker or a contractor, and they just sit in front of your computer and they just log in because it's wide open? What might they have access to, and so forth? Password protect all of your digital devices. That is the most responsible thing to do. So let me see. Hardware, right? Make sure your devices such as PCs, laptops, mobiles, modems, routers, and any peripherals are newer. Older hardware, generally 5+ years old, lacks the internal resources to run current, more secure software and firmware. So like an old laptop on Windows 7 is no longer supported by Microsoft. You got to update your hardware. All right. Software, install and run paid versions of antivirus, anti-spyware, anti-phishing, and a firewall. Free antivirus, you get what you paid for. With Paid antivirus, you get multiple layers of protection. Security software, VPN, let's talk Wi-Fi. Your home or office Wi-Fi needs to be password protected. Emanating a free, unprotected, not password protected Wi-Fi from your home or office could be a problem for you, for your clients, because there are devices and hardware and software out there that can sniff out your data on unprotected Wi-Fi. VPN is known as a virtual private network. A VPN is a software program that you basically download, and it facilitates you going on free Wi-Fi and still being protected. A virtual private network encrypts your data on open free Wi-Fi at the hotel, the resort, wherever you are, the airport, and so on. Okay. Encryption, protect your data with encryption software. That means that your operating system already has encryption built into it so that you can encrypt your hard drive, encrypt all your data. However, you may not actually have enabled it. So make sure that you enable encryption software on your machine. I'll show you how to do that in a moment. And then backing up, you have all kinds of options for backing up. I'm going to show you a tool to back up that's really cost effective. We talk passwords, we talk two-factor. IT vendors, for you brokers out there that might have a larger enterprise, you want to consider talking to your accountant or talking to your lawyer on who they use for security, because you might want to bring in a third-party managed security service provider, also known as a virtual chief information security officer. Bring in a third party to do a vulnerability scan on your network. All right, let's go back to the Google. All right, just give me 1 second. We're going to, all right, there's that. And hold on. Okay, so VPN, Google it. You search VPN, virtual private network, right? You see ads for ExpressVPN, ads for NordVPN, and so on. I like to point people to this article, PC Magazine's the best VPN services for 2022. Isn't that nice? What they are, how much they cost, the bells and whistles, how secure they are, and so forth. Encryption, how do you set it up? How do you activate it? Google it. Encryption windows, you search that, an ad comes up for Sophos, just ignore that. But then right down here, support.microsoft.com, device encryption in Windows. Click on that, shows you how to set it up. You can also search encryption, MAC, encryption Mac, and there you go. Support.apple.com, protect your Mac information with encryption. Easy enough to do. As far as backup goes, you can back up locally to external hard drives. You can do that manually or automatically through sync software. Or actually, in addition to, you should also back up virtually in the cloud, right? To a service like Polar Backup. So Polar Backup is great. This is a service that I subscribe to. If you were to search personal, right? And you scroll down a little bit and it says buy now, okay? You toggle either lifetime or yearly. I'm going to do yearly. And look at this, $23.99 a year for unlimited cloud storage. As far as I'm concerned, that is free. That's ridiculously cheap. That is $2 a month. That is nothing for unlimited storage on your personal devices. Definitely take a look at that. All right. Other than that, any questions, comments, feedback, anything that you want to get out in the last minutes we're together? Okay. Well, this is all pretty simple stuff as long as you engage in the fundamentals. Recognizing risk boils down to knowing what your options are.
It's Mary, and we do have a question. I'm sorry, Robert. Please give the Protect Now website address again.
Yeah. So it is right here, protectnowllc.com. That is PROTECT. So protectnowllc.com. So this facilitates you being able to check your email address and check various passwords that you might have to see if they have been part of any specific data breaches. Now, when you log into here and you check your email, you check your passcode, we're not seeing any of that stuff. It's going off into the abyss. Searches are being done. We don't have access to anything. It's fine. We have a database of 13 billion stolen records. Thousands and thousands and thousands of people are searching this every single day. Searching your credentials is not going to get you hacked. It's fine. It's good to know what's going on in the background over there. All right, Marianne?
Yes, great. If so much great information, I'm even taking notes. When we get off of the webinar, Life Takes Over, what would you say would be the top 3 security tips we should enact right away?
Yeah, well, I'm going to say that the top tip you should enact, and you may not like this, is to watch this webinar over again. Because here's the thing, Marianne, right? I know Life Takes Over. I agree with you 1,000%, right? Cybersecurity is a huge, 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 huge problem. It's continually getting worse. It's not getting any better. Do you know why? It's because most people do nothing to protect themselves and or their clients. Many of you are using the same passcode across multiple accounts. You've got to use a different passcode for each and every account. And the only way to facilitate that is via a password manager. Many of you are not using two-factor authentication.
Right.
And the only way to fix a lot of the password problems is to enable two-factor authentication. So between watching this webinar all over again, taking notes, engaging in a password manager, using a different passcode across multiple accounts, setting up two-factor authentication, and all of the other stuff, these are things you have to be doing all the time. These are new habits that you need to begin to create to protect yourself and your clients. And I hope to see you all at Triple Play, because I'm going to be speaking about this topic for 3 hours twice in the same day. Yeah.
Congratulations on being selected to be a Triple Play presenter in December. This was incredible information, and everybody should, in a day or so, go to our website, watch it again, take notes as I did. Great information. Thank you so much for being with us, and on behalf of LIBOR, and I'll see you in December at Triple Play.
Thank you, New York. Have a great and safe day.
Yes, you too.